Ferdinand Thomas, Counseling 510, video discussion thread, Existential or Gestalt. When we start thinking about existential therapy or Gestalt therapy, we with existential, we've got to think about morality. We've got to think about core meaning. We got to really start diving deep when we start thinking about existential. Um, Corey 2021 says that existential focuses on morality and core meaning. When we start thinking about Gestalt therapy, we got to think about the how and the why. And Corey 2021 says that Gestalt helps deal with feelings and be in the present. It's a more individualistic type of approach. So when we apply these to Olivia and the situations that are plaguing her, the first question is, what are the goals with this client when applying an existential approach? What are the goals when applying a Gestalt approach? Well, when applying a existential approach, that seems like it might be kind of challenging to come up with goals for Olivia because of the amount of suffering that she's dealing with, all the different challenges, all the different stress. Might be difficult for her to focus on a meaning of self, focus on a meaning of life, a deep core meaning. That might be challenging, um, but it's possible. So there could be some goals there for having a deeper meaning, a deeper understanding of her core being, of her core self. I do believe that the Gestalt approach would be more effective for Olivia to discover the how and the why she's having the issues that she's having in her life. I would imagine that following the Gestalt approach, there the existential approach could be effective with Olivia, but there's a certain amount of the Gestalt I do think that would be necessary first to help her to figure out why she's having some of the issues that she's having, to solve some of those problems. I do believe that Gestalt would be the more effective way. There will be a more there will be a better success rate with a set of goals that are put in place. What would the role what would be the role of the counselor and the role of the client from the existential perspective? Well, the role of the counselor would be, to facilitate and to help guide the client down the pathway of finding that deeper meaning of life, to find that deeper core understanding. But even in this space, when it comes down to the existential, Olivia made it very clear that she was interested in rejoining her church family, and the existential approach, it goes a little further past religion. So that may not be the approach for her, but the Gestalt perspective may work very well for her. And obviously, we've got the counselor who's going to be the facilitator, that's going to be presenting a challenge to this client, to help the client see why and see how those issues that they're having are happening. Um, let's see. 4. How would you integrate a biblical perspective with this client when applying an existential approach? What about with the Gestalt approach? When I think about a biblical principle for really any approach, the one verse that comes to mind is Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And no matter whether we're talking about existential, where we're really diving deep into the core of the person, it still relates to faith. It still relates to belief in self, and in knowing thyself. And when I look at the Gestalt, approach. I see something similar there. It's still faith that we're working with. We're still going into the meaning of the person. Maybe not as deep as existential, but it still requires faith. It still requires believing in a process, believing in self, believing in God, belief in something that helps to give direction. And I think that these theories are compatible, because at the end of the day, that what they're both doing is they still are coming back to self. Existential may be uh, going into self from a different angle than Gestalt approach is, but they're still going into self. It's like they're taking off from two different points, and they got different kind of routes, but they eventually end up at the same place. Five, if you had to choose between the two theories, which one would fit better the needs of this client? Which one are you more comfortable with? Well, I stand 10 toes on that for Olivia. That this that the Gestalt therapy would be the better option for her, at least at this stage of the of her growth and what she's going through, what she's dealing with. And then at the same time, like when it comes down for me, I'm a pretty deep person, so existential would be an approach that I would feel more comfortable going through with a person, because I believe that all problems are created and solved on the belief that a person has of themselves. So going deep into that core of that person's self, going into understanding past lives, perspective on traumas, all of these different things. I see a major benefit by using that approach. And yeah, so thank you.